Hello everybody, welcome to the second video I believe of Monday. So today I've had an opportunity to play Nimrod and I'm going to cast my thoughts on it, also like do some good points and bad points. I've also included in the description little like how to play the champion, but in a nutshell, and we will go over this right now. In any given fight, what you'll be looking to do is try to, number one, build armor, but also number two, use the switches of modes to build the energize and as well energy vulnerability buff and debuff respectively. So you'll be going close to like an SP1 whilst you're in mode Titan, or Titan Protocol, whatever it is, and then you kind of look to then switch over, just throwing an SP1 over that time period of the expiring. So you're looking on the top left hand corner for that point to go to point over to the other Blitz Protocol. So one that goes blue, one that goes orange. So you'll look for, again to explain this, just in case I haven't explained it properly, is that you'll be waiting for the blue to expire on that grey timer. You'll then throw close to the end point at SP1, which will then send you over to that SP1 registering for the orange or Blitz Protocol, which means that you get the best of both worlds when it comes to setting the energize buff for yourself to build power and the energy vulnerability to do damage on the enemy. And this for me is where I kind of put my first criticism with this champion, and it's one of those ones where you've got to watch too much on the left hand side, because essentially what you're doing is when you're going to the Titan modes, that blue mode, you use that to build armor up, and that's by doing well-timed blocks. And sometimes it's like it is difficult when you're trying to keep the intensity of a fight and kind of going like, okay, well, I've got to watch the left hand corner to build some armor up buffs in order to improve the potency as I go further down the line. And that further down the line is Eradicate. Yes, Eradicate Protocol at 10 protocol charges, launch a special attack to activate Eradicate Protocol for 16 seconds, combining the effects of Titan and Blitz protocols. So you get, again, the best of both worlds of attacks having increased attack rating, and as well have things like, well, you're able to kind of like do well-timed blocks. But as well, it's just that you've got to concentrate on this, and that's the biggest problem. If there was anything like nodes or stuff you got to interact with, it's kind of like that. Not to say there's anything inherently wrong with the champion, I just don't like the fact of you have to over concentrate on too much, which means that then you're looking at this champion as going to like, right, well, is it just good for like for variance and as well content where there's not so much going on in certain things like I don't know, Act 6 when say the nodes stay the same, sort of to the degree with Act 7, but maybe there's specific types of counters, maybe a champion that you require that has to do a shock debuff or has armor up, which is handy for things like buffed up. And that's another issue as well, because I was looking at some stuff with Act 6 where you've got certain things like you have to have a incinerate immune or say frostbite immune type champion. This one only has bleed and poison effect immunity, which for me is like, that's kind of a problem with this. And this champion is good, and like, not to say like it's completely bad against different areas, but it's like I just find that the rotations can become very frustrating if you've made a mistake. I mean, this for me is all too common, especially with the current state of the game, because you have to rely as well on compliant AI, and the state of the game at the moment is not a case that we get compliant AI. You're not going to be able to get parries all the time. Well-timed blocks seem to be kind of, well, non-existent or very inconsistent, I think is the word I need to go for. And that kind of coupled with the fact that you've got to watch the left-hand corner for rotations of the timer, it can be very annoying. And when things don't work once, it's kind of like you're not doing as much damage as you'd like to. And I found that very frustrating about this champion, but there are some good things to it. As that quick burst of damage that we've probably seen in some of the clips I've put over the top of this, is that you can see him insane passive shock damage, which can be very handy. Also that there's, well, you know, the immunity. I've said that it's not like huge amounts of immunity. The power suppression, which you can get from a power lock that comes from this champion, does mean it's going to be handy against a lot of situations. And the amazing prestige is great. It's good as well to see a unique rotation in an otherwise kind of bland amount of champions being built this year, because that's the biggest problem as well. Like, you know, after putting 200 champions in this game and also buffing old ones, I just kind of feel like Kabam are running out of ideas when it comes to creating these characters, or they're taking a lot of stuff which just turning copy-paste champions from one month to the other. So it's nice to see something unique. Not to say this hasn't been done before. It's definitely been done before in the same kind of idea of having switching between two different nodes and maybe some other node kind of stuff, or modes, sorry, not nodes, protocols type thing. So it's kind of like, it's good to see something unique-ish, but it's not totally unique. It's good for buffed up. Yeah, there's some good damage. It's just, as I said, the problem for me is like when it falls off the damage rotation, it just can become a little bit kind of bland to then get build up the champion again. And you just think, oh crap, I've got to go through the same process again of going, I've got to stay in the blue Titan protocol and build up armor up buffs in order to improve the potency of stuff. Okay, right, now we've thrown the SP1 close to when it's about to then go from one type of protocol, the blue protocol, to the orange protocol, and there we've got the energize and the energy vulnerability. Now we switch back to the Titan mode, and then what we try and do is then try and build the armor up buffs again. We try and build up to an SP2, throw the SP2, and then it's a case of trying to do as much damage as possible in that thing. Now we're kind of like, there's a lull, and then you've got to rebuild again. And it just kind of feels like you're definitely going past a larger amount of hits to get the champion down, to then kind of like, which then kind of feels like it's like sucking the fun out of kind of building the champion up. If I was Kabam, I personally would improve this by increasing the length of time the armor up was on the champion. Because as I said, the biggest problem with this game at the moment is consistency with the AI. So if you're looking to play against this AI that's kind of uncompliant, then how are you meant to kind of get that well-timed block off to then get that armor up buff sustained, which then kind of like positively improve this champion? The second side of things is the damage from a Suicide Mastery Champion version, which I've got here, and rank 3 6-star. It's not as potent as I'd like. So that's just the thing with it. It's just like seeing like maybe Kabam down the line can make some improvements. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's people out there that say that he's fine as he is. I personally felt that it was just just not there. Also, the extent of health regeneration, I just don't think that's as potent as maybe it should be. Maybe that should be a bit more, especially for this champion. But you can rotate around doing the Titan protocol and have some sustainability by, you know, reverting back to Titan mode and then regenerating. But yeah, it's just one of these things, like deal a burst of energy damage based on the opponent's missing health. That's helpful. You could do that, you know, go from an SP2 to then kind of build the same process to throw an SP3. Maybe that's the way that you've got to go with this. I also find this champion is very odd because he doesn't possess any kind of shock resistance or any kind of like immunity to shock. I just find that, number one, quite weird. Now, one of the great things about this champion is facing off against mutants. I mean, regardless of about before, like facing with an Iceman, it's just a case of showcasing, number one, it fires shock but isn't shock resistant, but as well possesses and gets that armor up buff like really, really quickly, which is pretty insane. So that's good going up against mutants, and I think that's the only real kind of usage for this champion, is if there's a big kind of like mutant quest of some kind, break out your Nimrod for kind of quick building of armor up, which then massively benefit this champion. But apart from that, and unfortunately, what do we call him, like Numrod, or I tell you what, is no Rod really. So I'm pretty disappointed about it, because there's a character, it's a champion I really wanted to kind of have in this game and also kind of play with. But I mean, my full review of this is down in the description down below, and I just kind of, as I said, very disappointed in this. Really hope for more. Incredibly reliant on having suicide masteries, incredibly reliant with mutant matchups, and also incredibly reliant on very top left-hand corner watching of rotations and expiring of timings. So it's like, it's not really, I just don't think it's been that great. Kitty Pryde has been the go-to champion this month. So yeah, it is what it is. Sadly, not a good champ, in my opinion. I don't know, your thoughts in the comment section down below, and as well, we'll see if you get him and whether or not you feel he's good or not. Yep, that has been a video. Go and check out some other content located on screen right now, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.